Garage Talk. It's sort of like a regular episode of Tim's Enthusiast Garage, but it's me and my garage talking. Today on Garage Talk, I'm going to update you on a few cars that I've purchased that I haven't had an opportunity to shoot an episode of yet. Kind of give you an idea of what's going on with those cars, what my plans are for those cars. And we're also going to visit a garage of a friend of mine named Michael. And unlike me, Michael is gifted to do anything he puts his mind to in the automotive world. He can restore cars, electronics, he can do body work. He is just an unbelievably gifted guy. If you follow me on Instagram, you probably get a little bit better idea of the cars that I'm looking to buy and also am in the process of buying. One of the cars that I purchased recently is a car that I drove in the first series of Tim's Enthusiast Garage, and that's a Bentley Arnage. I was in the shopping process and was honestly considering a Continental GT or an Arnage, and it was the Arnage that absolutely won my heart, unequivocally. Another thing that you may have seen if you follow me on Instagram, that I did sell my Maserati Grand Sport. I owned that car for about 6 years. It was a wonderful car. I just started looking for other color combinations of that car, and I ended up finding one that was not a Grand Sport, but was a Cambia Corsa Coupe, and that car's getting some tweaks. I have some interesting observations on that car already, and it's definitely one that I think you'll enjoy the episode on. I also picked up a 928 manual transmission, an early no-wing, no-spoiler car. Also picked up a Daily Driver LR3 that I'm going to hopefully compare and contrast with the Defender. And by Defender, I mean the new Defender. But I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. Either way, you'll get a video on the LR3 by itself, or you'll get one comparing and contrasting the truck with the newly released new Defender. Also picked up one of my favorite M cars of all time, the E46 M3. It's a manual transmission car, finished in Imola Red, and I think that one's going to be a very interesting episode that you're going to really enjoy as well. Also, and I wasn't even going to mention this, I picked up an Aston Martin Virage. It's one of the 12 manual transmission cars. Boy, oh boy, is that going to be an episode. In the meantime, I also sold a car I had bought to restore, or my thinking was that it was the only one I was ever going to find, so I would restore it. It was a Citroën CX GTI Turbo 2. Very cool car. I was sad to see it go. It was one of the coolest cars of the 80s, but it went to an owner that has more familiarity with Citroëns, and I think it'll be in good hands. But today, let's go visit my friend Michael. We'll have a little bit of a garage talk and a episode sort of smashed together in one, and check out his DS19. He got it running, and this is a complete barn find, found I believe in Kansas, and I'm extremely excited to check it out. I've never driven a DS. He spent the last 4 or 5 months sort of going through it, making it roadworthy again. Let's go check that out, and then we'll come back here after we drive it for some closing thoughts.
I was able to restore most of the electric system, like turn signals.
That's awesome. When you got it, nothing worked. You know?
No, the amp meter is even showing that the turn signals are blinking, but the green light doesn't always come on. They do work on the outside, and this is kind of loud.
As we are.
It could use exhaust pipe. It's just a straight pipe. Excellent power. I mean, the torque is insane for the size of the engine. And how well the suspension works is crazy. We're off-road.
Literally off-road.
Yeah.
Whoa.
ratio is kind of low, but it's very tight. Handles really well for what it is. Hydraulic brakes still work. Look at that.
That's amazing.
Calipers were a little sticky in the beginning, but I cleaned them up. This was restored. The heater valve, fuel tank had to be taken out, and it was full of dust. It had zero rust in it, surprisingly, but essentially it was full of garbage, so it was difficult to clean it, so I had to cut it and then wash it on the inside and then weld it shut again and then coat it with polymer on the inside. My intention was to not attempt a full restoration on this car, but to keep it as original as it was, based on the fact that it is a survivor and it is 60 years old. Those stickers came from the original owner when he converted it to ID. I guess maybe his vision wasn't great. He put those stickers over original writing to make sure, I guess, he knows what's what. He has ignition key here, which is ID ignition key. No, DS ignition key, and a starter button. And there is ignition key here, which is this one is ID. So there's two ignition keys, and only one of them works and does something. They both come with sale, obviously.
The charm is high with these Citroens. He has gone through most systems, and in this we're going to sort of talk about what he's done and what he's left to do for the next owner. This car will probably be coming up for sale soon. I had a Saab Sonnet that was 4 on the tree. This also is a 4 on the tree car, and I like it. Just sold my Citroën CX GTI Turbo 2, or Turbo 2 GTI, and the suspension system, once you've driven one of these cars, the suspension and the brakes, and obviously the single pillar steering wheel is completely different than any other car brand that I'm familiar with. But there is some real innovation to this suspension system in this car. It is we're off-road right now, and unbelievably smooth. So from that perspective, it's kind of quicker than expected, and that's surprising. Brakes, suspension, and everything on this car, really, I've owned and driven cars on the road that were more suspect than this car. So yeah, but what a treat. And this is one of those things, there's a tendency to over restore cars these days, and I think this one, in so much as that it is currently a driver, certainly you can get in and most of the work has been done for you. I think the reason he's not painting and doing all that is I think he wants you to see the honesty and the integrity of the bodywork. I know people that would drive this, would put like the right hubcaps, wheels on it, great tires, maybe go over some details and stuff a little bit more, but would essentially drive it just like this. And honestly, not the worst idea, because there's a lot of character, honestly, to the bodywork. It's straight, all the doors close, hood closes smoothly, all the glass is in great condition. Obviously, we have the windows down right now, but it even has a little Jaeger clock with very 60s hands on it. And the experience that this car gives you, if you're used to driving modern stuff, is a totally different experience. It's nice to see one of these even being driven and lovingly restored. So yeah, I mean, this review isn't so much of necessarily this DS or the DS even globally. I think it's about a couple things. One is not over restoring cars and sort of making it so that cars do see future use. And I think in that realm, this car has been lovingly moved forward. So not restored, but lovingly taken to the next, the next generation, so that it can be enjoyed as is, or taken further with body and paint and maybe a quieter exhaust. Maybe After driving this car, one thing that I would say is this thing would be awesome on the highway. Would be an amazing highway car. You've done a really nice job sort of bringing it back and not over restoring it. Tell us more, Michael. One of the sad things about this whole interview situation is that Michael is easily the funniest person I've ever met, and he's very restrained on film today.
Absolutely, because you can't say much, in a public domain anymore. So, last time I was on the road in '95, by the look of it. What happened was clutch actuator broke. It just wore out, and also ignition coil was burnt out. So these two issues kind of landed it for quite a while, and then the owner since 1963 passed away in 2011, I believe, and it went on an estate sale where his acquaintance got it, and that's who I got it from. So this is, as a matter of fact, you driving it pretty, I wouldn't say aggressively, but
spirited.
Yeah, this is the first time it's been on the road, quote unquote, and I like what I'm seeing. It
drives great.
Those are probably 40-year-old tires, and they're still holding perfect pressure. How unbelievable is that? So I started with hydraulic system just to get it up, and I rebuilt the pump. Then I went on to take the cylinder head off and remove all the debris from the rodents, because they built condominiums inside the cooling passages. The cap was missing, and it was filled with water, I guess. So that had to be addressed. New head gasket. I reground a couple of valves, replaced one. I didn't like it, and pistons were in fantastic shape. Those usually, the tops of these old style pistons, they usually chip off. This looked like it was rebuilt, but it has 86,000 documented miles. I have log from original owner where he was changing oil every 1,000 miles. Engine is sparkling clean on the inside. Thank you, Marvin. It needs stop lights are not working, so I was planning to do it next to make sure that stop lights are working. All the other lighting is fine.
And for those of you who maybe don't know a ton about Citroëns, each of these body panels, the fenders, everything, very unique and interesting cars. I've lamented before, with modernity, the world has become smaller and less interesting. Like the French aren't French and the Brits aren't Brits sort of anymore. This car is truly 100% French in every way. One of the reasons I mentioned this while we were driving, that you didn't do a full respray, is you want people to see how honest the bodywork is on the car. This is sort of the sole, what I would say is a, unfortunate, but pretty, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, that's it. Everything else is solid. Even these tires, it's amazing.
They are
because
great.
they feel pretty good and they hold air, but
yeah,
boy, are they dry rotted.
I'm kind of leaving it for a future owner. If they want me to weld it nicely for them when they come pick it up, I'll do it, or maybe they want to do it, but I wanted it in the open because I think it's kind of cool. Whatever they got going on in Texas or Kansas or wherever it was is fantastic for the metal. It's just, I wish my 71 and 73 were more like this. Unfortunately, one's from Cleveland, the other one's, I don't even know where from, but a lot of stitching and welding going on there.
One thing that I love about this hobby is the breadth of collecting. I've gotten the chance to look at a couple collections this week, and some of them are impeccable, fully restored $1 million cars. Some of them are all new cars. Some people like me have interesting cars that they grew up appreciating, and at the same time are trying to buy and sell those cars to sort of get to the next target. I mentioned before that one of my target goals is to either have an XJ220 or an F40, so I can't keep every car. Cars have to go, and much like playing the stock market, you buy a car for a good price, you sell a car for a good price. Some of that money then goes to buy the next thing. So whatever lives in your garage, enjoy it. And enjoy it to the fullest. We're in, I think, the golden age of horsepower and really car collecting right now. I think there's a lot of evidence to suggest that the internal combustion era is coming to an end. And so no matter what kind of car collector you are, your passion matters. And I hope that I can continue to create content that you enjoy. Moving forward for Season 4, I think we're actually going to drop the Season 4 nomenclature, and we're just going to do episodes of Tim's Enthusiast Garage, where I'll drive a car and I'll review it. And I think we're going to grow Garage Talk into something like this, where I can do pretty much whatever. Go drive a car, talk about a new car, maybe even do a podcast style thing where I interview someone. But those are going to be the two things that we move forward with in the future. I thank you so much for watching. I'd ask that you please subscribe to the channel. Check out my website, timsenthusiastgarage.com. But thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time on Garage Talk.